All right, g'day everyone, and welcome to the Impact Down Under podcast. My name is Dan, and this is also Dan, but we call him the Wrestle Rookie because he doesn't know shit about wrestling. Nah, nah, he's pretty good.
Yeah. Look, we've already got a comment from the last video that you posted, and it's from Dan, and he says these guys have huge dicks.
Yeah, fucking oath, mate. That Dan knows what he's talking about, as do we. Um, we we're hosting our first episode of the Impact Down Under podcast here. We're going to be talking about little bits from the other companies around the world. We don't have that much news in Australian wrestling at the moment, but we're going to be starting to cover that next year when we go to shows, or when I go to shows, or when we hear something big, like when there's some big stars coming down here. Like, for instance, we're going to World Series Wrestling next March, which has got a pretty stacked lineup so far of some independent talent. You got Josh Alexander, Jordan Grace. You got recently announced TJP. You got Matt Cardona, Brian Myers, and yeah, a lot of these talents we don't get to see live down in Australia very often. Like, we don't get too many international talents coming down, but it's an exciting thing for us. So, in the section of To Be Expected, we have Dan's review of everything that's happening in wrestling in the other companies this week, and I'll touch on AAA a little bit later.
Yeah. Look, as far as wrestling in other countries, I've been a bit busy, to everyone's surprise. Um, but there's been a couple of developments. One that I really enjoyed is Brian Last and Chris Jericho having an argument on Twitter. Who would have expected this?
Nobody.
Um, Brian Last said something along the lines of Chris Jericho buries everyone, and Chris Jericho responded with, "I haven't buried all of it." And then he listed a bunch of people that he hasn't buried of like young talent, and he also mentioned Sting in that group.
Action Andretti. Oh. And yes, the young talent Sting.
Young talent Sting. So look, I don't know what that foreshadows for the future, but maybe we get a Chris Jericho Sting veteran versus newbie match coming up, and fingers crossed that that happens.
Yeah, and I reckon you got to have Hulk Hogan in there as a special referee as well, because he is the king of booking and the king of wrestling in general.
All I have to say to that is yes, brother. Someone who's worked 400 days in a year,
Yeah.
you can't pass them off on a special guest referee position.
Well, didn't you hear that he also gave Harley Race a job after Harley Race came into a wrestling ring with a gun and burnt it down?
He's given a lot of racist jobs, but this one
Yeah, yeah. So what happened on this week's? Did you watch Dynamite yet?
I did, yeah. So there's a bunch of things that happened. I can't remember them in order, but I'm pretty sure it started out with a match with Brian Danielson and all ego Ethan Page. And yeah, I didn't watch the entire thing. I skipped to the end. It ended up with like the Brian Danielson stomps, and you know, Danielson won as he should have. And yeah, that's all there really is to say on that one. Nothing too impressive from all ego Ethan Page. Beyond that,
Should have stayed with
and
his fucking tag team partner.
oh, that's right. And moved on from that. There were a couple other appearances that you don't see regularly. Like Hook, he came in, he had a little match. He looked really good in it. It's like when you have the two wrestlers and they take their time between all of their moves, they're like give the other guy a chance to have a break and get some offense in. Hook did not allow that, so it makes it way more believable that he just came in and fucking steamrolled this guy. That
Yeah.
and that made sense. And then all of a sudden, here comes Big Bill, who comes out and he was with what's his manager's name?
Oh, I don't even. It was he the dude from the Jericho Appreciation Society, or was that
No, no, the guy from the firm, the that was like best friends with MJF, and the firm turned against MJF.
Oh, I know the dude that you're talking about. He's sort of like one of those little Weasley manager types, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah, one of the fucking Weasley manager guys. He's out there at ringside, and yeah, then all of a sudden Big Bill comes out, and then guess who comes to save the day? But Jungle Boy.
Oh, really? Jungle
Yeah,
Boy, Big Bill's little brother.
Yeah, he comes out and locks up with some dude going on the ramp. I can't remember who it was because I've not been conditioned to care.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Nobody here at the Impact Down Under podcast has really any feelings at all about AEW.
Yeah, pretty much. So that happened, and then there was a nice segment backstage. Wardlow he cut a decent promo. He wasn't just wearing his ring gear. He had like the almost the pedophilic like trench coat on, but he didn't look like a pedo, so that was nice.
Oh yeah.
Um, all of a sudden, Samoa Joe rocks up with the steel pipe, hits him in the back of the knee. Wardlow drops, hits him a couple times, more times than the knee, and that was all right. And that was to set up like kind of a weakness to Wardlow for the match that would be taking place later on the show. Which surprise, surprise, Wardlow won by choking. Sorry, Samoa Joe won by choking Wardlow out.
Oh.
Yeah. Beyond that, there was a Tay Mello and Anna Jay match versus Willow Nightingale and Ruby Soho. And I found this incredibly underwhelming. The only thing that actually made sense was that Tay Mello won the match, considering that she was booked somewhere else and didn't turn up the
Oh
same
yeah,
night.
we might touch on that a little bit as well because yesterday at the AAA pay per view, Conan, obviously one of the big figures in AAA, came out and was basically talking about the like just the ludicrousness of Tony Khan and Sammy and Tay Mello for canceling 3 times, especially at like a big end of year pay per view, like for like obviously the third and final time. He's just stripped them of the titles, and it's another fractured relationship with AEW.
And you know, this as the biggest indie in the world, they're burning bridges faster than they can build them.
Well, it's exactly what indie companies do, right? You know, they can never work together.
I suppose.
Oh, what else is going on? Dragon Lee. Dragon Lee around other companies. Dragon Lee from AAA has signed with WWE. So
Dragon Lee, what's he previously known for?
he was in AEW for a little while. He's a long time veteran of AAA. Like he is quite experienced, but they've sort of like I've seen a lot of people online. Like I'm not too familiar with his work either, but I've seen a lot of people online saying he's been lined up to be the next Rey Mysterio for about 11 years.
11 years.
Yeah, since Sin Cara days, you know, like
Wait, where I'm just looking up now, he is the brother of Roosh.
Roosh.
Yeah, or Rush.
Ah, Rush. Yeah, he was tagging with him in the main event.
Yeah, the guy that had a bunch of big matches in AEW for no reason out of nowhere.
What? Which one?
I don't know, people love it. We all know his story. We've been following it for years now, and that's what it's all about. It's about seeing these little guys with the long-term story booking that have come out and they have proved their point, and they can work. They can put the work in, and people love them. That's that simple.
To follow any of AEW's to follow any of AEW's Forbidden Door storylines, you have to watch literally every single wrestling program every day.
And we do because we are loyal followers.
Oh man, like you compare that to the booking of someone like Yu Uemura on Impact, somebody who's come in. They've just told us that basically he's straight out of the New Japan dojo and he's looking to prove himself.
So far.
So
How many matches has he had so far?
Yuya, he's probably at around 9 or 10 at this point. Lost.
And sorry, how many has he lost?
He's lost most of them.
Lost most of them, but still way more memorable
Yeah, for
as
sure.
because he looks good. Everything makes sense. He's a newbie, so everyone's kind of cutting him the slack of being new. But also, when he does things, they look fucking good.
Yeah, 100%. He's one of the most solid wrestlers I've seen just come in. Like, even though he's young, like he's straight out of like the New Japan dojo. Like obviously incredibly solid. Like I haven't seen him botch that many moves at all. Like he's very classic. Like I would have to say, like he's sort of like late '90s, early 2000s style mid card wrestler, but it's a refreshing breath, a refreshing a breath of fresh air in today's wrestling climate, where everyone just tries to get in every single move in their arsenal in every match.
Yeah. Oh, and this segment, and this is completely off topic that I wanted to speak about at some point was did you listen to Dax Harwood's first podcast?
No, I didn't. What happened on Dax Harwood's first podcast, Dan?
Very much like you to listen to that and come back because what a guy. He spent the first podcast. The main topic was CM Punk in AEW, and it's just really interesting hearing someone who wouldn't he doesn't come across as anyone that would kind of lie about things.
Yeah,
And the thing he mentions about Punk and the kind of climate of AEW, it's very interesting some of the things that he said. Like talking about times where he's tapped out in matches and how the only times he's ever done that was when it was his idea, but he's actually done it more than basically any other wrestler on the card, which I find very intriguing.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think that honestly, like if I was Tony Khan, I'd be pushing FTR to the moon, featuring them a lot more often on my TV show because they are money. Like you see, every single indie that they walk into, like because they're working more indies than they are AEW. Like every single indie that they walk into, the fans love them. Like they're a throwback style sort of tag team, and like it appeals to a lot of people. I mean, they've got charisma. Like they people either know them from WWE or they know them from fantastic matches that they've had at one indie or another.
Absolutely. Like I wasn't the hugest fan of them in as I guess it was still FTR in WWE. And then when they moved to AEW and they were with was it the Pinnacle?
Yeah,
That wasn't a huge fan of them then. I always liked their matches and stuff. But they never kind of I don't know. I guess it worked for them being heels originally because I didn't like them, but it was more of like a I didn't want to see them thing.
yeah, yeah. No, the go away heat sort of thing.
They've definitely turned that around. It's like at the moment, AEW just have them getting buried to the champs and having the odd wrestling match when they should be running the fucking show.
Yeah, no, 100%. Although on a funny side note, I reckon that Impact should take some money out of WWE's booking, have them come onto Impact, and just have the major players squash them.
The major place squash FTR.
Yeah, bloody oath. Well, they did it at WrestleMania. You remember Zack Ryder, Kurt Hawkins, bloody squashed the Revival to finish their losing streak.
Right. No, they weren't FTR at that point. They were just the revival. No,
Yeah,
that makes now I'm remembering. Yeah. I I do vaguely remember that and I didn't care at the time.
yeah, that's fair enough. It's yeah, it was an interesting time in wrestling. I mean, a lot of like between sort of 2015 and 2020, let's just say. I mean, I didn't really follow at like anything that was going on in WWE. Like, I mean, I follow the news now, like I see what's happening in WWE, but I back then I just didn't. Like I just couldn't be less interested. I mean, there was like obviously NXT going on, but I didn't even really get into that. So that's something that you have on me. Like honestly, like in terms of wrestling knowledge, I don't really know much about what happened in NXT.
I look, I remember when I first got into NXT, the first I just thought, all right, I'll go way back and click on an episode when I was sick one day, and I clicked on it. I skipped through the bits that I didn't like, and basically how I do with every wrestling show, basically.
Yeah, or 1.5 speed.
Yeah, yeah, and then all of a sudden I'd watch like 7 episodes, and then it's like, ah, fuck, all right, I have to get up to date with all of this. So
Yeah,
then I did all of that. I did all of the next episodes till I was up to date. Doing my skip through to the parts that I like, watch them, and I got like the full picture of the things that I liked.
yeah,
And I wasn't a big fan of just kind of kept rolling on in the background.
that's fair enough.
That was super worth it. Really, that was a good 3 days of my life.
Nothing better than smoking a bit of meth and watching NXT. Uh,
It was pure crack.
that was pure crack. Okay. Well, you're doing better than me in that regards. All right, so down on to, down
That's
into
a podcast.
yes.
That sounded fucking convincing.
What was it?
Yes.
Yeah, like just a very gay villain. That's exactly who I am. I'm the gay villain of the Impact Down Under podcast. So speaking about today's Impact Wrestling,
All right. Yeah, today's impact, it was the highlights of 2022.
yeah, but the only new match that we got to see was on BTI. Like, ironically, the show that not many people watch. But we got Delirious and Yuya Uemura versus Hotch and Skylar, and that was actually quite a solid match. Like, it's a very passable TV wrestling match.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I like there was a few parts that I really enjoyed. Delirious has uh a lot of interesting offense that somehow manages to work for him. I can't say whether I don't think it would work for many other people, but for him, he makes it work.
Well, especially seeing as he's in the lower mid card, and if he gets the occasional win with a unique offense, it is believable. I mean, like if he's winning every match with this offense, maybe not so much, but like definitely if he's in the lower mid card, like I think that honestly, the next feud I'd like to see like after he's sort of done with like after he's done with Uemura is a bit of Delirious versus Jonathan Gresham, because obviously they got the history in Ring of Honor and they're both small guys, and I reckon they could really have a banger in the ring.
Look, while I agree with that, I feel like maybe instead of that, we should have him versus a debuting James Ellsworth who squashes him clean.
Oh yeah, I reckon that'd work really well. I mean, we saw how well James Ellsworth worked last time on Impact as well.
Also, I missed that entirely.
Yeah. Sorry, did you miss what I said, or did you miss the James Ellsworth?
I missed his part in Impact. What
He
did he do?
he came into Impact, sort of. I believe it would have been like early 2017, maybe early 2018, like one of those years, sort of the in between years between like when Anthem was really trying to like
Oh, yeah,
start the company new, yeah. And then all the allegations came out about him. It's sort of a Joey Ryan situation where Impact had to sack him because of like all the shit that was being said about him in the media.
I mean, the only difference is the real crime is they pressed charges because they couldn't quite see his penis.
Or his chin. But yeah, some of the things that I liked about the match though, he had Hotch using his new signature or finisher move. I mean, like the fact that they used it. Like the one thing I didn't like about it was like if it's his finisher, they use it in the middle of the match as a transitional move. Like that's a bad call. But the UFO, like I reckon it looked fantastic. Like the torture rack blue thunder bomb combo. Like it was really cool.
Yeah, I agree with that. I enjoyed that. There are a couple other very cool parts, and like a couple other like very small parts, like Delirious's pin while he has one of his legs on the arm of his opponent's while he's performing the cover. I really like that. I don't think I've seen that before.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, just little things like that really add so much to the uniqueness of particular wrestlers, and I'm a big fan of that.
Oh, 100%. I mean, Delirious is probably like. I know that he's working backstage at MLW at the moment. He's probably doing a bit of backstage work here at Impact as well, because he's got a lot of experience in that side of things. But
Yeah,
but I mean, he's got a lot of history behind him. Like with some of the Ring of Honor guys that have come in, like since Ring of Honor's gone down, and they haven't found a home in Tony Khan's version. Like he's the sort of guy who can work with them, like can work angles with them and have it make sense.
yeah, for sure. It does make a very big difference.
Yeah, and also it's his first pin in Impact, I believe. Like from what I've seen, unless like the only thing I'm doubting myself about is the last match with Yuya Uemura. He had another tag team match with him, and yeah, I'm not sure if he got a pin in that, but I believe if they did win, it might have been Uemura that got the pin because like obviously he needs a couple of pins every now and then. I mean, he is like as Matthew Raywalt on commentary said about him last week when he was facing Mike Bailey. He's showing flashes of brilliance, which I believe is the point that his character's at, but he hasn't quite got it all put together yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm yeah, really enjoying. I think that's a fantastic team having like an actual veteran, working with one of the new guys.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
definitely it's definitely showing off in terms of the ring IQ, not in terms of like the flashy moves or whatever, but more in terms of that match itself is a lot more solid. There's some more storytelling, and that's always going to mean a lot more to me personally.
Yeah, for sure. And plus, I mean, the interesting dynamic of it all as well is that Yu is already over with the Impact fans, whereas a lot of them, like a lot of the crowds that I've seen in Impact have like sort of seemed confused when they've seen Delirious. I mean, maybe not a lot of them watch Ring of Honor, or maybe not a lot of them are familiar with him, but like it lends some credibility to the uninitiated with Delirious as well. Like possibly gets over by association.
Absolutely. I think all we're missing 2023, I want to see Delirious versus Luther in a best of seven match for some sort of championship. I feel like that is on the cards as long as everything goes to plan. That would be incredible.
The it'd be the Ring of Honor Swamp Monster Championship.
And that is chef's kiss.
Yeah, I reckon. Uh, other than that, I mean, we didn't see all that much from Skylar in this match. I mean, John Skylar's obviously just signed again with Impact. Like he worked a couple of matches last year, but he's a veteran of the Indies and like obviously a very solid worker. But those two in a faction with Bully Ray right now, which wasn't really touched too much upon in this match, but like them being yeah Bully Ray's henchmen now, like I think yeah, a lot of people are saying like people reckon that that means the Bully's going to win the title. What do you think about that?
I think I think he should.
Yeah,
I was against the idea of it originally, but at the same time, I think uh, at the moment Josh needs to go back to an underdog kind of role, at least for a little bit. And I think he should be champion again. I think it would be good to have um, just a bad motherfucker like Bully Ray. Like he's come back, he's got a massive podcast, and in the last month or so, he has basically just screwed over literally telling everyone he's used them.
yeah,
And I'm a big fan of that. I think they need to. I feel that's the biggest story when I watch Impact. I feel like that should be used very effectively rather than just having him be like a monster heel that's overcome. I think he needs to be the monster heel that overcomes.
yeah. And I mean, it's probably going to be his final run in any sort of like meaningful wrestling organization as well. So he needs to go out in glory, I reckon.
His final run, and on top of that, because he was a big tag team guy in like the from the late '90s to the 2010s or whatever. The fact that the general the general size of wrestlers has averaged out to be quite a bit smaller. He looks like a monster fucking heel now, and
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of that. It's like he's doing the same thing he's always done, except he's got a lot more experience on the mic because he's been doing his podcast for the last however many years.
yeah,
He's absolutely killing it in terms of his character, and he just happens to have dwarfed the the average size of wrestler that has kind of you know sized down over the years because it's not just juiced out fucking 6'6" guys that are all trying to slap each other in the face now. It's averaged out to more of more of a reasonable sized person that can do all of this crazy shit.
It's people wanting to live like longer than 50 years, I guess, a lot of the time
Yeah,
now.
yeah, exactly. And he just happens to be genetically gifted to be one of those guys that, late in his career, he's an imposing figure. He's a very imposing guy at the moment.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know, he's in the best shape of his career as well. Like, he's lost that big belly that he had for most of his career, and he looks even more imposing because he's sort of got that gaunt, like, lost weight look to him as well. Like, but with the
Yeah,
beefy arms too, like, he's still big.
absolutely. He's a big guy. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Bully Ray at the moment. The only thing that with last week, the only thing that I had an issue with is it seems like I can't remember the name of the guys that came out for him.
Uh,
Well,
Hutch and Skylar.
Hutch and Skylar. The only thing that I really had a problem with is Hutch and Skylar. They came out and then all of a sudden it took like maybe a minute and a half for them to effectively be able to use those zip ties.
Yeah.
And that annoyed me a bit because in the last couple of weeks I've been putting up like some fences with just like chicken wire, some fucking some stakes in the ground and zip ties, and it's not that difficult.
As Hutch and Skylar clearly don't live rural.
They don't live rural, but also I've been doing it absolutely wasted, and I'm having, you know,
Maybe they need to start coming to the ring like after a few cans.
they need. Yeah, I think that would be wise.
Well, it's always wise to wrestle drunk.
Think about Victory Road 2000 and whatever the fuck with us
2010, fuck me.
party.
Yeah. Well, it's the greatest match of all time, you know.
You know what? I'm not going to argue with that.
All right, so we got a few matches shown today. Like I'm not going to really touch on any of these too much, but I'll get me and you to give him a thumbs up or a thumbs down, I guess. So we had Moose versus Cardona versus W Morrissey.
Yeah, thumbs down for me.
Thumbs down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you can go in a second. The reason is, I think I remember seeing that match itself, and it was just three of the bigger guys that are going for it, and there was nothing that really invested me. Like I've always been a big fan of Moose.
Mhm.
Don't get me wrong, but the other two just I don't know. It seems kind of thrown together.
It was a bit too early in W Morrissey's time in Impact as well. Like he'd only just sort of come in, and they were already throwing him in the world title picture.
Yeah, yeah.
Perazzo versus Mickey James.
No, hold on. What were your thoughts?
I'm not a.
You,
I mean, I'm mixed on that one, right? Like, it wasn't my favorite main event of the year, and I wasn't too big.
hold on a second, Daniel. You said there were two options, thumbs up and thumbs down. Are you gonna start inventing a third option?
I'll give it a thumbs down as well. Then, I mean, in terms of wrestling matches, it was good, but in terms of storyline, it was thrown together as you said. I think that a lot could have been done to possibly. I mean, if we'd had Moose versus W Morrissey one show and then Moose versus Matt Cardona the next show, I reckon it would have turned out better.
Yeah. Moose versus Cardona would have been very good, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, for sure. We might even see that in upcoming months. You know, I mean, I know
I
that
don't Last time I checked, W Morrissey is now a big billion, and with the current very recent history of signed AEW people, I can't see Big Billiam showing up in any promotion anytime soon. He's gonna
I mean
he's
Matt
gonna
Cardona.
he's gonna ditch it for an AEW Dark appearance.
Oh man, yeah, that's the way. That's the way, Billiam. All right, the next one. Moving on very swiftly. Deonna Purrazzo versus Mickey James.
Go that one. Yep, thumbs up for me.
Yeah, thumbs up from me as well. There's not much you can do. Like when you've got an Impact legend in Mickey James versus one of the best technical women's wrestlers in the world in Deonna Purrazzo. There's nowhere that you can really go wrong with that match.
No, absolutely not. And Impact, have happening to be, you know, for the last 10 years, I reckon, the best women's division in all of wrestling.
Yeah,
The way this could have gone wrong.
100%. And it's funny because like the women's division isn't even that big these days, but they're still managing to keep it going in a strong way.
I mean, that's why they've got Jordan Grace as champion. The other side. And I'm not going to comment on that any further, but let's carry on.
We had the Ultimate X where Mike Bailey won the championship. So we had Bailey versus Kenny King versus Alex Zane versus Andrew Everett versus Miguel versus Ace Austin.
I think it was a clusterfuck, but I'll still give it a thumbs up.
I'll give it a thumbs up, but the one part of the match that I will give a thumbs down to, and I know that you'll remember this as soon as I say it as well, when Mike Bailey grabs the championship, only 2 seconds before Matthew Raywald had said, or it might have been Hannafin actually. Yeah, I think it was Hannafin said, "Oh, he's got to grab the championship and then get down to the canvas." And then he just grabs the championship, stays on top of the ropes, and the bell rings.
Yeah, no, I do remember that. Bit stupid, but definitely not even close to like the top dozen stupid things that happened this year in wrestling.
100%. Um,
And like
yeah,
kind of made up for it ever so slightly.
yeah, no, yeah, no, 100%. I think, yeah, Bailey's gonna be one to watch in 2023.
Yeah.
Next we had Impact versus Honor No More at Slammiversary. This was the one where Davey Richards came back and like Dixie Carter announced him, and then we had Earl Hebner come into the ring at the end of it and count the pin.
Yeah, thumbs down for me.
Thumbs down.
Down for me, yeah.
Not
It
into
just
nostalgia.
no, not really. It just didn't do it for me. I've never been a big fan of Eddie Edwards or yeah, along that same line, I've never been a big fan of those guys. I've just never really gotten it, you know.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
How a lot of people are into it, but me personally, it's just a meh.
I mean, I'm mixed on Eddie Edwards, but I'll give this match a thumbs up just simply because I think that they couldn't have picked like obviously they couldn't get a big name like a big name to appear as the mystery guest, but to have Davey Richards come in like from a company that they don't have a good relationship with in MLW, like to have him come in and have like Dixie Carter announce it, I thought it was a great moment, as well as like Earl Hebner, like Dave Hebner, Earl's twin brother, had passed away earlier that week, so it was a great touch to have Earl come in and do the count as a tribute to his brother.
Yeah, no, I can see your opinion on that. Also, everyone that ends up seeing all three of you. Um, Daniel here, my
Sorry, we've lost Dan. Just wait a second. Gonna reconnect. I'm gonna reconnect him. Just a second. Yeah, gonna get Dan back in here. It's the bad thing about using the free version of Zoom because we are cheap bastards here. Yeah, Dan's just talking to me at the moment over Facebook. We're cheap bastards here, so we got another 43 minutes of Zoom here, guys. So we're gonna hear the rest of Dan's opinion in regards to in regards to here we go. Dan, can you hear me?
I sure can. I feel like we. Do you feel like a fraud yet?
Oh yeah, we're I was just telling the zero viewers that we've got right now about how cheap we are here at the Impact Down Under podcast that we can't even afford the full version of Zoom.
But I was gonna say I feel like we should just make this a segment. The occasional restart Zoom. Is
The occasional restart Zoom, and then I just start shitting on you while you're not on the podcast.
that what you were doing?
Yeah, fucking oath. No, no. What we so you were gonna say you were gonna announce something to our three viewers.
Ah, fuck. What was the topic before then?
We were talking about the Slammiversary match between Ono Moore and the Impact Originals, and Dave Hebner, and like passing away.
No, no, as run from me now. Sorry.
That's
Well,
okay. We'll go on to the next one. We've got Bhupinder Guja versus Brian Myers in the ladder match.
yeah, thumbs down.
Yeah, I personally like this one, but I'm still giving it a thumbs down because they had the Guja lose to Brian Myers like 5 times in a row.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. That was my announcement. The other Daniel, the actual host of this podcast, he's much more knowledgeable on Impact and wrestling as a whole than me. So yeah, just drop the hate in the comments for me.
No, I reckon I'll get some as well. Like, shut up, you fucking know it all, cunt.
Perfect.
And then the last one that they showed on tonight's replays episode was Josh Alexander versus Eddie Edwards from Bound for Glory.
I enjoyed this match, but I don't like Eddie Edwards. It's that simple. I'm not even gonna give it a rating because I'm
So
so.
you're gonna give it a that?
No, because we are not the bar.
Yeah, that's a fair call. I'll give it a thumbs up. I'm a big fan of this match. Like exposing the hardwood floors and whatnot. It was pretty brutal, to be honest with you. Went for about 40 minutes, and yeah, two of the like, as much as Eddie Edwards is bland, he can go in the ring, and like at least he's not too much like smaller in height than Josh Alexander. So it's believable that he can hurt him.
Yeah, no, I can agree with you on that. I just yeah.
Just Eddie Edwards.
I can't elaborate on my feelings more than I already have. You know?
Dan just can't get with Teddy Tedwards.
That's right. Teddy Edwards.
All right, so that's the first page done. We have
How many do you have, cons?
only two. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Trust me. Before we get into the best of 22 awards, there is a couple of things that I wanted to touch on about Impact. So it was sort of semi-announced today. I mean, there's been spoilers up for weeks about it, but Anthony Green, an ex-NXT superstar, has signed with Impact. I don't know for how long. It hasn't really come out too much yet, but he's signed with Impact, and it'll be interesting to see what he can do with a bit less of a creative leash. I mean, I didn't hear too many reports home from him about NXT. Maybe do you know him, Dan?
Not at all. No.
Yeah.
But did he have a previous name, or was it just always Anthony Green?
I'm not too sure. Maybe get it up on the Google quickly.
I know Anthony Mundine, who was an Australian boxer from memory.
It's just Anthony Mundine and Danny Green mixed together.
Yeah, no, that's more likely than not. He was Battle Royal #1 contender for the heavyweight title. But what fucking promotion? Online wrestling. That doesn't help me. Um, he looks like he was all elite at some point.
Yeah.
He looks like a slightly more physically impressive Peter Avalon.
I saw. I mean, I'm not one to cast aspersions with my teeth, but I've seen the gaps pretty big there as well. Like, it's, it's yeah. It was like I saw somebody today. Like, there was a post on Facebook about him signing with Impact and whatnot, and somebody was just like, he looks like a washed up young buck.
Yeah, no, I think that's we need to get Adam Cole into the gym and just have Anthony Green uh be that third guy in the what is it, the super click.
Yeah, 100%. He's just
And if he If he's not up for it, I think we should really consider going for Luigi Primo.
Oh, 100%. No, he's too busy in the FBI now.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, he's with like that Italian bunch.
Yeah, he's with bloody Nunzio or whatever he's little Guido down in Battlegrounds Championship Wrestling.
Guido.
Yeah, little Guido. I mean, he is an ECW original Guido, but like the other two members of the team were like they really added to him because he was sort of the little guy with the two henchmen. And we had like a big Guido, as well as Tony Marmaluke, who were both pretty big dudes. I don't you probably never seen either of them, but yeah,
Yeah. So wait, hold on. He signed with AEW in 2019 and then signs with NXT in August 2020. So he was an AEW original and then jumped ship.
that's actually quite rare. It's not often
Yeah, that's
somebody
what I'm saying. That's impressive.
it's not often that somebody ends up in AEW then WWE and then Impact.
Yeah.
It's a weird order. It's usually like Impact AEW WWE or Impact WWE AEW.
Yeah. So what did they name him in WWE? August Gray, maybe.
Yeah, I think that was it. I think I read that somewhere online.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. So, oh man, it's the first guy to jump ship and do better and then move on.
Yeah, I think he must have been one of the NXT 2.0 guys, and Triple H is sort of just let him go.
Or Anthony Mundine.
The other thing that I wanted to touch on before we give our Best of 22 awards was the fact that the Impact Wrestling YouTube channel on their live stream tonight ended with a comment saying what's coming in 2023 will blow your mind. And as I was saying to you earlier, Dan, they're usually fairly understated in what they say when they're hyping up the next year. Like for instance, Gail Kim said earlier this year that there was a big distribution deal coming, right? Didn't
Yeah.
really say too much about it, but it turns out that obviously they've signed with DAZN, which is a really like 170 countries or something like that. Really big deal. They're available in more places than AEW now. Like that's fairly understated for like, but when they're saying a wheel will blow your mind in 2023, that gets me like really excited. Like, what do you reckon? Big name, maybe a new TV channel.
I reckon maybe Impact is all elite.
Oh fuck.
I have no, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I don't know. One of my guesses is maybe more international touring dates because they
That'd
got
be,
they're doing Canada and England next year. But yeah, I personally like. I mean, like World Series wrestling that we're going to in March. Like they sell out every time, and they're using mainly Impact talent and a couple of AEW guys. And I reckon that like if Impact were to come down with the full roster and everything like that, like that Impact would be able to sell out a few shows as well.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I think yeah, coming to Australia would be massive for them.
Yeah, no,
And
100%. It's such an
I
untapped
think
market.
I think they would do a good job down here with their shows as well. Like
Yeah,
I think they would do a very good job at filling up arenas or whatever the fuck venues they decide to book out.
yeah, I reckon a medium size, like 1,000 to 2,000 seaters, sort of thing, like that. I'd be happy with that.
Absolutely, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. That's very exciting. I'd go.
yeah, 100%. Honestly, I reckon that I know that Impact obviously has a very safe touring circuit. Like, they don't want to spend too much money. They want to be turning a profit year over year so that they can keep expanding. But I think
Yeah,
that, like, they spoke about in 2017 when Anthem acquired Impact, they spoke about a 5-year deal. And then at the start of the pandemic, so we're taking 2 years out of it because they said they were pausing the 5 years to try and survive through the pandemic.
yeah,
So we're now essentially at the end of year 3 of that 5-year deal, or 5-year rebuild plan.
yeah,
So in the next year or two, we're gonna have to see them take some big risks to try and like compete with the big boys again. I reckon because they have the potential. They have they're one of the best companies at building stars from talents that nobody's ever heard of before.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, they just need to bring it onto a bigger stage. They need to get that TNA stink off of them, and teach fans that Impact is new, Impact is exciting, and like honestly, the best book show on television.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I I think there is a lot of upside going on with Impact now, especially in the last 3 years, seeing like an actual billionaire exposed superpower essentially just coming in and then shitting the bed entirely.
Yeah,
I, I think there's a lot of people that are, that were off WWE and then moved to AEW because, hey, this is new.
yeah,
And they still haven't jumped to Impact because they've still got that that idea that they're just happy to write Impact off.
yeah.
So it was very cool to see them, jump on some sort of worldwide touring circuit and kind of restore their name as a legitimate fucking alternative.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, we've seen him re-sign quite a few people lately as well, which is segueing actually onto my next point. Like now that they've got the DAZN deal, it seems to have gotten them a bit cashed up. Like they've re-signed multiple new deals lately. Like we've seen PCO, Johnny Swinger, Rich Swan. We've seen Jonathan Gresham come in. We've seen Tasha Steeles, and today was announced that Brian Myers has re-signed with Impact for another year.
You mean the digital media champion?
That's Joe Hendry.
Ah, right, my bad. Yeah, that happened like 2 weeks ago. We watched the match together.
But Brian Myers, like apparently, like from reading some articles about it today, apparently Brian Myers has actually been working backstage as well to help do merchandising.
Yeah,
So
nice. Good. He is always had a bit of a mind for that kind of thing.
yeah, like he's gotten so the micro brawlers that you've been seeing pop up on the Impact store, like the mini action figures that they advertise all the time, that was Brian Myers. They've got full size action figures coming out next year, as
Yep.
well as VHS tapes, like the VHS tapes that you've been seeing of the major pay per views. He just thought that'd be a cool collector's item, and they've sold out a couple of times.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Good on him.
Yeah, no, that's it's yeah, thinking outside the box sort of thing. Like Impact as, like to add to the company's legitimacy. Like a lot of people see Impact as an independent company now, but the fact that they've got like better merchandise and a TV deal and now a huge streaming deal, it shows that they're like a step above the independents. They just need to take that next step next year up into real contention with the multinational wrestling companies.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And look, for that to be possible, all we need to remember is we believe in B Myers.
I've always believed since the womb.
Good boy.
All right, so now to close off the show, we're hitting 48 minutes right now. We're going to do an hour to an hour and a half each episode, but we're going to do Impact Best of 22 awards. I'm going to read out a category and say who Impact put as their winner, and then we're both going to quickly speak about who we who we reckon should have won the award or if we agree.
Yep.
So, first one that they announced was Knockout of the Year, and they put forward Jordan Grace.
Masha Slamovich.
I agree. Marsha
Yeah.
Slamovich, like she had a very impressive run. Like they had her lose to Jordan twice in a row, which I wasn't a fan of at all. I reckon that it should have been 50-50 booking in that case because they want Jordan to look unstoppable, but also they're putting her up against someone who's literally just torn through the rest of the roster.
Yeah, I'm not going to use my joke opinion of her on this particular episode about Jordan Grace, but I think I think the crowd was very behind Masha for a majority of her run because of she's just very imposing.
Oh,
She's
100%.
believable. She has an investable character. But you You want to see her fucking demolish people.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, she's sort of got that. I'm not gonna be an AEW fan and say Stone Cold Steve Austin vibe, but like the anti-hero vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So look, Jordan Grace has done some cool things. She's done some good things, and she's definitely been the most quote unquote dominant. Uh, I would say champ of the last year and a bit in Impact. But I think that should have changed at some point. Like the championship at least should have changed at some point because Masha Slamovich, she had a lot of momentum and people were really behind her.
Well, a lot of whispers in the community at the moment are sort of saying like because obviously Jordan's facing Mickey James in a career versus title match at Hard to Kill. Um, a lot of people are sort of saying that they reckon that they should have Mickey win that and then have her as a transitional champion and have Marsha Slamovich end her career.
I think that would be the best way to make up to Masha Slamovich the fact that she got screwed twice.
Yeah, 100%.
If I was booking it for the first time with no sense of like Tony Khan 5D chess long booking shit going on, I would have just had Masha go over immediately.
So just sober booking.
Yeah, yeah. So we're booking.
So to run on from that as well, like I think that what they should do, like in my opinion, Jordan gets beaten by Mickey. Mickey then gets beaten by Marsha and retires, has a big send off at the next pay per view or whatever, and like has a Hall of Fame ceremony at Bound for Glory next year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think that because Killer Kelly's been on the sidelines for a month or two with an injury, I think that the next feud needs to be Marsha Slamovich versus Killer Kelly.
Yeah, I can see that. That'd be all right. I'd have no issues with that. I'd enjoy it, I think.
Yeah. All right. Moment of the year. So, moment of the year, the fans gave it to Alexander versus Moose at Rebellion. So, obviously, after Alexander got screwed by Moose at Bound for Glory, you had the underdog story coming up to him beating Moose, Moose playing dirty all the way along the way, like he does so well, and then overcoming the obstacle and beating Moose to a great crowd ovation.
What are your thoughts on this?
I I don't know what like my moment of the year. I know this might be a controversial one, right? And we haven't really seen how it's played out yet. But honestly, at this point, my moment of the year, like we'll talk about my match of the year later, but my moment of the year is Eric Young getting stabbed to death by Dina.
Yeah. Okay, I guess our moments of the year are quite similar. Um, I would say it's moments, and my moments of the year were when Dina went from this to this.
Oh no, you can't forget about this either. Like,
Oh, that's a good one too. Yeah.
yeah.
Every time he changed his, every time he changed it around, big fan.
In all seriousness, though, I think that Dina is actually like I know that Eric Young's obviously a veteran, commands a lot of respect in the Impact community, but I think that Dina is a breath of fresh air. He's giving a new guy. Obviously, they're giving a new guy an opportunity to show that he can be a main guy, and I think
I've
that
been I've been really enjoying Dino. I like the white leather. I like the whole holier than thou kind of vibe that he gives off. I'm a big fan of what he's currently doing.
coming out and being like Samuel Callahan.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, especially because it's something that seems to be happening in a lot of different promotions, and it doesn't get much of a reaction. But when Dina does it, it commands so much more attention, and I'm a fan of the way that he delivers everything to do with his whole story at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny because like he's obviously split the fans. Like, there's a lot of people on Facebook that love him. There's a lot of people that hate him. But in both aspects, he's commanding emotion out of these people. He's commanding strong emotion out of them, and that's your
Yeah,
job.
yeah. No, he's killing it in that regard.
Yeah. All right, X Division Star of the Year, and I 100% agree with this, Mike Bailey.
Yeah, Mike Bailey.
there's there's absolutely there's no argument. I mean,
Oh, I don't know. I could argue Rich Swan, but I'd be lying.
oh man, your favorite. He's just re-signed for 2 years as well.
Thank goodness.
Do you reckon he'll get another run at a world championship and just like keep on beating Moose by having him run into chairs again?
We can only hope. Just
Honestly,
lost.
were my that was my least favorite match in Impact in like years.
Rich Swan is going to be the first ever 30-time champion at this point.
He's gonna have both the X Division and the World Championship, and his
His
own.
World Heavyweight Championship run is going to be more prestigious than R Truth's 24/7 championship run.
Oh man, I mean honestly, if R Truth gets like released during his injury at WWE because he was one of the Vince guys, can we please have him come back to TNA and
Yeah,
win
the fucking World Championship.
just one more time? Like honestly,
Absolutely. It definitely doesn't seem like Triple H is a big fan of him because he hasn't been around very much, which is a shame because Vince was a big fan seemingly because of the whole comedy aspect.
yeah,
But that's
100%.
but that's not all he was good at. He was great at fucking everything he ever did.
Yeah, for
He's
sure.
everything he's ever done.
I mean, when he showed up on NXT, like obviously he got injured, but did you see the pop that he got? Like I just
Yeah,
watched the clip. Like the pop was insane. Like all of these like hardcore fans respect him. So
yeah.
if he was to leave the WWE again, I think he command all sorts of respect and impact.
He is universally loved.
Yeah, 100%. All right, male team of the year.
Motor
Now,
City.
yeah, Motor City Machine Guns. They put that forward. It's like honestly, like the best in ring team that we've had an impact this year was the Briscoes, but the fact that they like cucked us and went to bloody AEW was kind of a letdown. And
Did
like
they go to AEW? I thought they weren't allowed there.
they're signed to Ring of Honor, but they're not allowed on TV.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's got to be the Motor City Machine Guns.
Yeah, it was the Motor City Machine Guns, and I agree. I agree. Like, I mean, they've won. I think they've won the title like 65 times this year.
It's yeah, not surprising. Also, it's well deserved. Their matches are fantastic, and when they give them the chance to have like backstage segments, it's always really entertaining.
Yeah, hundred
They're
percent.
a shitload of charisma, and they play off that a lot, especially with all of their other competitors in the division.
Yeah, I actually can't wait. Like to have the triple team back, like Kushida and the Murder City Machine Guns Time Machine. I reckon that was fantastic.
I don't remember that, but yeah, I can imagine that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. I'll show you that. I'll show you that match. I think it was Time Machine versus Honor No More, and it was fantastic.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
Knockouts Tag Team of the Year. The Death Dolls were put forward, and I mean, there's not really many choices in the division.
You don't say.
Like, I mean, we did have the inspiration for about a hot cup of coffee, and
I
then and then they just decided to retire from wrestling. They got a bit too comfortable in WWE, and then realized, oh wait, wrestling's hard. And then we had the influence for quite a while this year with Tennille
I
Dashwood and Madison Rain, which I could argue. I mean, like they were pretty good as well, but yeah,
okay, yeah, no, I just don't have a dog in this fight.
Honestly, me neither. The knockouts tag division, they need to go searching on the indies, find a couple of like actual tag teams with actual names, and bring them in
They'll hire everyone they possibly can.
before Tony Khan does.
Or Tony Khan.
Um, One to watch in 2023. They put Bhupinder Guja. Come on, Dan, you can't hinder the Bhupinder.
Oh, you mean Jinder?
Oh, that guy that tagged with W Morrissey in his last match.
No, he's they've been trying for a while to get him over, and I guess this one to watch thing is just them really it's just them doubling down, I feel like.
Yeah, the fans voted for it, but I don't know. It could have been fixed.
Yeah, I couldn't tell.
I voted for it, Dan.
Did you vote for it? Did you?
Yeah. I went on the Impact website and clicked the little boxes and showed that I'm a good little Impact fan.
And you said Bhupinder.
Nah, I said yeah.
Yeah, I think that's more appropriate.
Either you Uemura or Mike Bailey. I mean, Mike Bailey's had a great 2022, but I think
Yeah.
that he might even like start going for the world title in 2023.
Yeah, I think the whole Bhupinder thing is just it's very much showing shades of was it 2016 or 17 where they just made Jinder Mahal the world champion because he came back roided to the gills and with gyno titties.
Yeah, no, 100%. I
It's coming across a lot like that, and like they're trying to appeal to a specific kind of audience.
There's so many parallels you can draw as well, believe it or not, because like Bhupinder Guja was originally known as Bhupinder Singh when Impact signed him back in 2016. Um, and he was in a faction called the Desi Hit Squad with Rohit Raju, Raj Singh, and Mahabali Shira.
Mahabli Shira.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry, just Shira now.
My bad. Yeah, sorry. Um, yeah, that's something.
Yeah, but it was their own version of the three-man band, basically.
And I get what you mean. Um, yeah, what's going on? Huh?
uh, Bailey versus Alexander was their match of the year. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Not a doubt in my mind.
I mean, I think it was. I think it was. Yeah, probably the best match of the year as well. But I tell you what, my personal favorite match of the year was Joe Doring versus Josh Alexander.
I remember that one. That was a very good match. Very solid, very hard hitting.
Yeah, I just like it's a shame that obviously Joe Doring's gone down with brain cancer for a second time. Like it's horrible thing for somebody to go through, especially in like the peak of their life. But if he comes back and if he's still able to wrestle, if and when, I reckon that he should get another chance at the world championship. Like I reckon that that would be like I don't know, it'd be the ultimate comeback, obviously, but at the same time, I really enjoyed him in the ring against Josh Alexander. He's a big, slow hoss, but he has some unique, like unique because he wrestled in All Japan for quite a while. He like, which is obviously like the King's Road style of wrestling. Like they're a
Yeah,
like not strong style like Japanese. They've got their own sort of like more Americanized style of wrestling, like long slow matches with a lot of psychology, and
yeah,
like him mixing with Josh Alexander's more modern sort of I don't know catch style wrestling. Like Alexander's sort of a hybrid. Like he's I don't know. He's sort of an in betweener. He's sort of like a Perk Angle.
yeah.
I don't know, but
I, I really did enjoy that match though. It was a very intense like It was just a really intense match.
Yeah,
You, you could feel that Dorian was putting all of what he had down, and everything felt like it did something.
100%. I think that he makes small moves mean more as well during the when he wrestles. Like he has a habit of like when he one of my favorite moves of his is when he like bounces against the ropes with his chest and then goes down for like a just like a basic elbow drop. Like,
Yeah,
but he makes it look so like crazy, and then he just like he switches speeds. Like when he's running the ropes, like he'll run them really slowly and then build up speed on the last one and just go for this gnarly ass crossbody and just like absolutely like knock the fuck out of his opponent. It looks
I
so good.
I'm a big fan of wrestlers that can change their momentum on a dime.
A
I
100%.
fucking a very sick quality.
Yeah, it's Mr. Doring, I'm wishing you all the best. Like, I hope you come back and prove us right and be the Impact World Champion one day.
That would be very sick.
But I think that that's basically all we got time for today, Dan.
Alrighty. Well, look, leave in the comments which who you like best, Dan or Dan, and
And don't tell us which one.
don't say which one.
Yeah.
And look, as we sign out, remember, we need to trust Tony Khan because he has been booking wrestling since he was 10 years old in 1996.
In his head.
That doesn't matter.
No. I'm saying he's a mental genius. It's like people who play games of chess in their head.
Oh yeah, no, I get it. Yeah,
Yeah, while Scott Demore's playing checkers, Tony Khan's playing 3D chess.
that's right. He's playing 3D chess and 360 no scoping cunts in the process.
Yeah, no shit. He's the only person who can pull off a quick scope in a fucking game of chess with a child.
And also Stunner the King.
You know, actually, we before we go, I reckon my New Year's resolution is I want I want to be good enough to God that we get a Tony Khan versus Goldberg match in 2023.
Oh fuck yes, or get him in a triple threat match with Goldberg and someone else.
Goldberg and Ric Flair.
Yes, Goldberg, Ric Flair, Tony Khan. Tony Khan, please book this.
Yeah, come on, Tony Khan. You
You're
will
the only one that's going to.
you will sell out 50,000 seats.
100%. Yeah, you fucking would. Flair, Goldberg, and Tony Khan.
Which he's obviously the biggest name out of the three as well, like the most prestigious wrestling name.
Absolutely. Or have him versus Steve Austin in a stunner v stunner match.
Yeah. Oh
Like,
man.
if he can sink $100 million on a video game, he can for sure sink $10 million on an Austin match versus himself.
How about a Tony Khan versus
And
Vince
also
McMahon?
have himself go over. That is the fucking cream of the crop right there. Have himself beat Steve Austin with a stunner.
Yeah. And then hit him with the DX symbols that Audrey Edwards loves so much.
Oh, yeah. No. Aubrey Edwards is she's going to be calling the match.
Yeah. And simultaneously like like waving at the camera the entire time.
No, every time they'll be having a brawl in the middle, and every time someone's about to slap someone, Aubrey Edwards will jump down as if she's like pretending to give someone a stunner, expecting it to happen, but it doesn't. You know how she like copies the moves that the wrestlers are doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, as in like to add some more impact. Yeah, she'll just be doing that, but it'll be a stunner every time in this match.
It's the only way to book a 5-star classic, Dan. You should know this by now.
Oh yes, have David Meltzer on commentary.
7 stars actually. 7-star FTR style.
Oh, I don't think FTR could even touch that.
Oh, well, we'll see you all in the new year for the next episode of us talking shit while drinking. And this is the Impact Down Under podcast. Talking shit while you take a shit because we know that you got more important shit to do. Catch us.